Allah knows what's best for us, so why should we complain? We always want the sunshine, but He knows there must be rain. We always want the laughter and the merriment of cheer, but our hearts will lose their tenderness if we never shed a tear. So whenever we feel that everything's going wrong, it is just Allah's way to make our spirits strong.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Inspirations. All praise is due to Allah. We praise Him. We thank Him. We are grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for everything He's given us, for all the bounties, for all the mercy, and for all the guidance. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us benefit from the guidance that He sent to us. And we seek the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the evils of our actions and the evils of ourselves. And we send peace and blessings on our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And I bear witness that none has the right to be worshipped but Allah alone. And I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is His servant and His messenger. Welcome to a new episode of Inspirations. Again, we will try to travel through time. Traveling through time is the key to understanding the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, as we can get personally involved in it. We will try to read the events, we will try to narrate them as if we are witnessing them, seeing them with our own eyes, hearing the people speaking and interacting with our own ears, and even feeling the environment. So we can get ourselves immersed in a real human experience, so we can benefit from, inshaAllah. And hopefully the lessons that we can take can help us come back to this world, come back to this age, equipped with what we need to handle the situation and handle all the challenges that we face at this time. Last time we dealt with a very sad incident that hit the Muslims and led to the murder of 70 of the great companions, 70 of the most educated companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They were killed in a treacherous way by Amr ibn Tufail and the other clans from Banu Sulaym that he called to help him. The Prophet ﷺ made a supplication against them. Amr ibn Tufail died in a very humiliated way after everybody had turned away from him because of the contagious disease that Allah sent upon him that caused him to die in a humiliated fashion as well. His uncle, the chief of the Banu Amr clan, died out of frustration, out of depression, because his dignity was destroyed. His reputation was badly affected. So basically what happened, straight after that crime took place, there were two companions following that army. Following the 70 companions, the 70 Qurra. And when they were walking in the desert, they noticed that the birds were hovering around, were flying around. And that attracted their attention, because that's a sign of human bodies being left in the desert. So they went to find out what happened, and they found the bodies of their fellow Muslims, 70 Qurra, being killed. And the army, or the people of Amr ibn Tufail and the people who supported him, who aided him in that crime, they were still around. So there were two people, Amr ibn Umayyah al-Damri and Al-Mundhir, another companion. Al-Mundhir decided to go and engage in fights, and so he was killed by those people. Now we have 71. Amr ibn Umayyah al-Damri was taken as captive by Amr ibn Tufail. Amr ibn Tufail asked him who he was, where he came from. He gave him his full name. He realized that he was from Mudar, from the tribe of Mudar, and it seems that a person from the tribe of Mudar had a favor over the mother of Amr ibn Tufail. So he said, I will free you for the sake of my mother. But he shaved his hair from the front. That was a sign of humiliation, that I have given you amnesty. I have given you your life back. That's the meaning of it. And he left Amr ibn Umayyah al-Damri leave. Some narrations indicate that Amr ibn Tufayl asked Amr ibn Umayyah al-Damri, he asked him about one of the casualties of the Muslims, who that person was. Amr ibn Umayyah told him that this is Amir ibn Fuhayra. Now, for those of you who remember the hijrah of the Prophet ﷺ, the migration, when the Prophet ﷺ had planned to migrate along with Abu Bakr, there was the shepherd of Abu Bakr who used to tend the sheep of Abu Bakr, take them to where the Prophet ﷺ and Abu Bakr were hiding, provide them with milk, and then come back. He would go during the night and then come back, so nobody would notice where they were. This Amr ibn Fuhayra. Amr ibn Fuhayra was one of those 70 companions, and he was killed. So Amr ibn Tufayl asks this Muslim, Amr ibn Umayyah al-Damri, who's that person? He said, this is Amr ibn Fuhayra. And when he asked him, why do you ask about him? What was special about him? He said, I saw that when he was killed, I saw him, he was lifted, something lifted him above the heavens, and I could see him above. Then he was slowly sent down and put in his place. Now these narrations are not obviously, they do not reach the level of authenticity or acceptance. But as I said, they are mentioned in the books of Seerah. So some historians say it's all right to take them. But what I say is just, okay, we be cautious with that. These are narrations mentioned. They are not absolutely authentic. It could have happened, there's a great possibility that this happened, because there were so many karamat, so many miracles showing the dignity and honor of Muslims, especially those who were martyred. Now Amr ibn Umayyah al-Damri left with all the pain, seeing the companions of the Prophet ﷺ being murdered. So he left, and on the way to Medina, on the way back to Medina, he rested under one, it seems that there was a station for people, travelers to rest. It was a shady area. So he was resting there. And then he found two people from a certain tribe, from the Arabs, who were connected to Banu Amir. So when these people fell asleep, two people, Amr ibn Umayyah al-Damri, thinking that that was a legitimate thing to do, because the Arabs would do that normally. He thought, these people are connected to Banu Amir, who just committed this crime. Why don't I just kill them in revenge? Actually, when they were sleeping, he killed them. When he killed them, then he found out that they had a letter, and that letter was a covenant from the Prophet ﷺ, a covenant of protection, an agreement of protection, that these people met the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ gave them protection in case they come across any Muslims who think that they might be enemies. And he regretted that. He realized that he did something very awful. So he went back to the Prophet ﷺ, told him exactly what had happened, and told him about these two people. The Prophet ﷺ said, you killed two people that we have given an agreement to? Two innocent people? The Prophet ﷺ said, you killed them, and there is some sort of an excuse that you were in the heat of the moment. You thought these people were involved in this crime, were part of it, so you killed them. We will consider this to be not a deliberate, or there is some kind of an excuse to you here, but what we will do, we will pay the blood money for their own families. I shall pay the blood money for their own families. The Prophet ﷺ kept making the dua of Qunutun Nawazil, which we spoke about last time. And as I said, just to refresh your memories, Qunutun Nawazil only takes place at times of calamities. So we supplicate Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to destroy the enemies of the Muslims, those who are inflicting harm on the Muslims. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to destroy them. And as for the hadith that says that there is qunut every Fajr, or the Prophet ﷺ made qunut during Fajr for the rest of his life, this hadith is not authentic. It is in a Sunan, but the authentic hadith is in Al-Bukhari, that the Prophet ﷺ قَنَتَ شَهْرًا ثُمَّ أَمْسَكَ, that the Prophet ﷺ made qunut and nawazil, the qunut for calamities, for 1 month, then he gave up. Why did he give up? Because many narrations indicate that these clans came to the Prophet ﷺ and embraced their Islam. They became Muslims. These, imagine, subhanAllah, and this is the barakah, the blessing of supplication. The Prophet ﷺ always, all the time, maintained hope that people would always embrace Islam and come to Islam. And that was exactly what actually happened with these people who killed the Muslims. So Udal, Al-Qara and Usayya, these people who took part in this crime, they came to the Prophet ﷺ and they embraced Islam and they regretted their crime and they repented to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Prophet ﷺ gave up the Qunut al-Nawazil, the dua, that supplication that he used to make. Now, some narrations indicate that after this incident, the Prophet ﷺ went to speak to the tribe of Banu Nadir, the Jewish tribe of Banu Nadir who were living in Mecca, who were living in Medina. Why did the Prophet ﷺ go and speak to them? He went to speak to them because of the two people that Amr ibn Umayyah had killed when he was on the way back to Medina. They had to pay the blood money. And there was a covenant in Medina between the Prophet ﷺ and all the other tribes, all the inhabitants of Medina, that in case there is blood money that needs to be paid, regardless of who brought that about, all of us will take part. Each one has to pay a certain share. So the Prophet ﷺ went to Banu Nadir, the Jewish tribe of Banu Nadir, to speak to them about it, that they have to pay their share to those casualties or those two victims that Amr had killed by mistake. He went to them, he spoke to them, they sat down, and actually they plotted. At that moment, they plotted. They went back from behind the Prophet ﷺ and they said, that's a golden opportunity for us to get rid of the Prophet, to get rid of Muhammad. So they came up with the idea that someone could climb over the house where the Prophet ﷺ was sitting and leaning his back to its wall, go over the house and get a huge millstone, go on top and drop it on the Prophet, drop it on Muhammad ﷺ to get rid of him. Some of them said, well, you know he's a prophet and he would be informed about that. Why put yourself in trouble? But they insisted, and actually they went about doing that plan. So someone got a stone mill and he wanted to climb over that house and just drop it on the Prophet ﷺ. Obviously Allah told the Prophet ﷺ through the angel Jibreel. The Prophet ﷺ just stood up and left the scene. And he disappeared. So the companions started searching for the Prophet ﷺ. They couldn't find him. And finally they found the Prophet ﷺ putting his armor on, getting ready for war. And by the way, this narration does not reach the level of absolute authenticity. Okay, this is something I have to note out. But it's mentioned by most of the narrators of the seerah, if not all of them. And it flows. It's in perfect congruency with the general events of the seerah. So this is why we mention it, but we still point out it's not authentic. It didn't come about through an authentic chain of narration. So the Prophet ﷺ said to the companions, get ready because we are going to fight them, because they have breached the covenant that we have with them, that we shouldn't attack each other. And now they were about to kill the Prophet ﷺ. So the companions got ready and they set a siege around the tribe of Banu Nadir. There is a weak narration that indicates or talks about the reason why this ghazwa or this battle against Banu Nadir took place. Why? This narration suggests that there was a Muslim woman who came to the market, to the gold market, which was dominated by Jewish merchants. She wanted to sell some stuff. She went there and she was fully covered. The Jewish tradesman or businessman or shopkeeper, he told her, he asked her to show him her face. He wanted to see her face. She obviously refused. So he plotted along with some of the other Jews around in the market. So they tied the back of her garment to the chair on which she was sitting. So when she stood up, her awra was exposed. They started laughing at her. There was a Muslim in the market, a Muslim man in the market, a Muslim having the bravery of a Muslim, having the dignity of a Muslim. When he saw that happened, he went to that Jew, to that businessman or shopkeeper, and he killed him. The Jews, being there in that scene, they jumped over the Muslim and they killed him. The Prophet ﷺ said, that's time to discipline them. get out of Medina, you have breached the covenant. Because the covenant was there when the Prophet ﷺ first arrived in Medina. They all agreed to have this agreement, not to attack one another, to respect each other, and to act as one alliance against the enemies, to defend Medina. This narration is weak. I have to point out this. Some scholars say that it's in line as well with the general attitude of the Jews, and it's also in line with especially the time that it took place in, just before the Battle of Banu Nadir. But anyway, regardless of the reason, the Prophet ﷺ, along with the companions, they set a siege around the tribe of Banu Nadir, and they gave them the choice. You either fight and you deal with the consequences of that fight, or you just leave here. You leave Medina. If you're going to act treacherously, you leave Medina. That was the choice the Prophet ﷺ gave them. Actually, they were willing to accept the Prophet's conditions and just leave Medina. But the hypocrite, the chief of the hypocrites, Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul, he found it as a wonderful opportunity to put his followers, gather his followers along with the Jews and fight Muhammad. Because the number would be great, and they would get better chances of defeating the Prophet ﷺ and the companions. So he secretly went to the Jews of Banu Nadir. He said to them, don't listen, don't obey Muhammad. Don't leave here, stay here. Because he realized if they were to leave, then he would be in trouble. His allies are leaving Medina. So he went to them and he said to them, don't listen to Muhammad. You resist and we will be on your side. We will fight. If Muhammad fights you, we will fight on your side against him. And he had many followers because he had been actually designed to be appointed the leader of Medina prior to the arrival of the Prophet ﷺ. So he had many followers and he was respected among his people, among Al-Khazraj. So he went to the Banu Nadir and he told them, don't settle for what Muhammad tells you to do, which is just leave Medina. No, stay there, fight, we will be with you. And this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to in Surah Al-Hashr, that these hypocrites said to the Jews, or said to the Banu Nadir, that don't leave, we will be with you and we will help you. In case the Muslims fight you, we will fight on your side. Now what was the response of the Jews? Did they take that seriously? Did the Prophet ﷺ come to know about this? We will find out inshallah in a few minutes after we go to a short break. So stay with us.
It is just Allah's way to make our spirits strong.
Allah mentions Arabic words in Quran 11 times. This might be a sign for us to know the importance of studying Quran and studying Arabic language, because it's the door to know more about Quran. Ubay ibn Ka'b, one of the most important Sahabas, advised the Sahaba, telling them, teach your children Arabic like you teach them to memorize Quran. See how important it was, and they are Arabs. Umar ibn al-Khattab, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with him, said, learn Arabic because it is part of your religion. Arabic is part of our religion. So how are we going to study Arabic and learn Arabic together in this course? This basic Arabic course contains 7 levels, starting with the 0 level, the ground level. Each level contains 13 sessions, 45 minutes each, and we have 2 quizzes in each course, and we have the final exam. So inshallah, by this, our objectives is to have a very good domain of the Arabic language, especially when it comes to reading Islamic books. So we're going to be introducing Islamic vocab throughout the course. So go ahead please and enroll in our basic Arabic course, as Arabic is the official language of more than 20 countries, and Arabic is the key and the door of all Islamic sciences. So please do enter this door from the correct way, Arabic language.
Huda Academy, your gateway to authentic Islamic knowledge.
It is just Allah's way to make our spirits strong.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Inspirations. Every time you're invited to write to us, And when we have the live episode, you're invited to call in. But for the time being, you can always write to us on our email address, inspirations@huda.tv. Again, our email address is inspirations@huda.tv. What I always like to receive, and I would like really to receive from you, is always tell us how the study of the events of the seerah has helped you improve any aspect of your life. What was the influence, the impact of studying the seerah? I would like to see some practical lessons so we can share with our viewers. We can always strengthen our understanding of the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ and how we can relate to it and how we can benefit from it at this time and age. So hopefully by sending us your emails and your experience with the seerah, this will always help us to share that benefit, and hopefully you will be able by that to open the eyes of some of our viewers to how to on the right way to utilize the study of the seerah or the information that they get in this show. Now the Prophet ﷺ set a siege around Banu Nadir, saying to them, you either fight and you face the consequences of this war, or you just embrace Islam, which you know is the truth. You know, anyone who embraces Islam, they are free to go and they are free to stay in Medina. Otherwise, you have to leave Medina, because we cannot stay here having all these enemies around Medina and in the Arabian Peninsula laying in wait to attack us, and also have an enemy within, in Medina here, trying to destroy us from inside, acting treacherously, trying even to murder the Prophet ﷺ in a treacherous way. First of all, they were thinking of, Banu Nadir, they were thinking of just leaving Medina. But when Abdullah ibn Ubay, the chief of the hypocrites, approached them and he said to them, you don't accept the conditions of Muhammad, you just remain resistant and fortify yourselves on your own citadels or your own forts, and we will help you. If they come to fight you, we will be on your side, we will fight against them. So actually, that convinced them, and they challenged the Prophet ﷺ. And the Prophet ﷺ actually gave them some time to leave. If they wanted to leave, they could leave. But then, as the Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul gave them this support and this encouragement, they changed their mind, they decided to remain in Medina. Now the Prophet ﷺ set a siege around them for about 6 days, and when they realized that they had no chances, and Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul and the hypocrites did not come to their rescue. They did not do anything, because obviously as they lived their lives in a lie, pretending to be Muslims, while in reality they were not, these people could not, it has become their own habit. They always lie. They cannot keep a promise, they cannot keep a word. This is why the Prophet ﷺ says that the hypocrite has 3 signs. عَلَامَةُ الْمُنَافِقِ ثَلَاث. If they speak, they tell lies. And if they give you a promise, they break it. And if they are entrusted with something, then they betray that amana or that trust. This is how they behave. This is the story of their lives. That's their character, that's their habits, that's the way they think, the way they behave. So they also act treacherously even to the Jewish tribe of Banu Nadir. Now Banu Nadir found themselves just out in the cold, having to face the consequences of that wrong decision that they had made a few days earlier. Finally they decided just to give up, say to the Prophet ﷺ, okay, we will leave. 2 people of them embraced Islam, they became Muslims, so they were allowed to keep their property and they were allowed to live in Medina. The rest of them decided to leave. So they were given the permission to leave and only carry what their camels could afford to carry. That was everything. They should leave all the weapons that they had, and they couldn't carry all their furniture and their belongings. Only carry what the animals could carry. That was everything. So they started doing that. They started carrying everything they could carry. The things they could not carry, and that just shows you how much hatred they had towards the Muslims. They didn't want the Muslims to benefit from anything left behind. So they started destroying their own houses. They didn't want to leave anything intact. They didn't want to leave anything that Muslims could even use or benefit from. But that didn't make any difference to the Muslims. So they started to break their own houses. Even the beams of their houses, of their ceilings, they used to take that and carry it with them. So they were obliged to leave the weapons and leave everything that their animals could not carry. And most of them headed to Asham, to North Syria, which is now Syria, Jordan, Palestine, and Lebanon. So all of them headed to Asham, and that was Awwal al-Hashr. That was the beginning of people being brought to Bilad al-Sham, where the day of resurrection, where people will be gathered on the day of resurrection around Asham, or in the area of Asham. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed Surah Al-Hashr. Surah Al-Hashr was revealed when regarding the incident of Banu Nadir. Regarding the incident of Banu Nadir, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions their story. He talks about the hypocrites. And by the way, just before now these narrations I'm going to mention are not authentic, but they correspond to the Quranic narration of the incident, because the Muslims were when they were surrounding the citadels of Banu Nadir, or the citadel of Banu Nadir started to use archery. So the archers were really shooting at the Muslims, firing at the Muslims, and it was difficult for the Muslims to maintain shelter, especially or to create blocks and walls to protect them. Why? Because of the palm trees that were around. So they were commanded first, the Muslims were commanded first to cut down the palm trees so they could have enough space to maneuver and work around and do whatever they wanted. So they started doing that. The Muslims started cutting these palm trees. And this was referred to in Surah Al-Hashr, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, مَا قَطَعْتُم مِّن لِينَةٍ أَوْ تَرَكْتُمُوهَا قَائِمَةً عَلَى أُصُولِهَا فَبِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. Then the Muslims, when they got full hold of and they made a tight siege around Banu Nadir, and Banu Nadir decided just to leave, all the spoils of war were given to the Prophet ﷺ because there was no real fight. There was no fight. So the money was, all the spoils were given to the Prophet ﷺ, and guess what? Did the Prophet ﷺ keep anything for himself? He kept very little. He kept very little for himself, because the Prophet ﷺ didn't come to take anything of this dunya. He just kept little for himself so he could support his families, and the rest of it, the majority of all what he got, he gave it to the poorer Muslims. Mainly they were migrants from the Muhajirun, and he gave some of the Ansar who were poor, like Sahl ibn Hunayf. So the Prophet ﷺ distributed that money to the poorer Muslims, and that was the story of Banu Nadir. And they had, as I said, most of them left to Asham, natural Syria. Some of them left to Khaybar, which is to the north of Medina. Left to Khaybar, like Huyay ibn Akhtab and Rafi' ibn Khudayj. These are two leaders of Banu Nadir. They left to Khaybar, and these people, please remember their names, especially Huyay ibn Akhtab. These guys are going to plot against the Muslims, and they will do something very evil. They will cause a great event in the history of the early Muslims. So remember the names, especially Huyay ibn Akhtab. Now, they moved to Khaybar, and they started plotting against Islam and against the Muslims in such a bad fashion. Now we are around in the year 4 of the Hijri calendar, the year 4, which is about only 3 years after the Hijrah of the Prophet ﷺ. Now we are in the 4th year of the Hijri calendar. What important incidents took place during the year 4 of the Hijri calendar? One of them was the death of Abdullah ibn Uthman ibn Affan, the son of Uthman ibn Affan. And he was the son of Ruqayya, the first wife of Uthman, who was the daughter of the Prophet ﷺ. She was the daughter of the Prophet. So Abdullah ibn Uthman ibn Affan, he was, I believe, at the age of 6 years. Yes, he was at the age of 6. He died. He was a little boy. He was the grandson of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is one incident that happened or took place during the year 4 of the Hijri calendar. Another important incident was the prohibition of alcohol, prohibition of al-khamr and gambling. That was very common in the Arabian Peninsula, and this is a very, very interesting incident, because for those of you who still remember the funny incident that took place when Ali ibn Abi Talib wanted to marry Fatima, the daughter of the Prophet ﷺ, and Ali ibn Abi Talib had 2 camels. He had 2 she camels that he was getting ready in order to give as dowry to Fatima in order to marry her. But he was getting some things ready. And when he was getting some things ready, he left his 2 camels in one place near the house of one of Al-Ansar, and he went around doing his own business. When he came back, he started crying because he saw something that made him really cry. And Ali ibn Abi Talib was in his early 20s at the moment. What was the sin that caused him to cry? He saw his 2 she camels being slaughtered. He saw them being killed, skinned, and the liver was taken out of their bellies. Who did that? Who did that to Ali ibn Abi Talib, who was so happy about the fact that the Prophet ﷺ was going to marry him to Fatima? Before that he had been desperate because he had nothing actually to give her. So when he saw that scene, he said, I started crying. I was in tears. And he said, he asked people, what happened? Who killed my two she camels? People told him that it was Hamza. It was Hamza, your uncle, and the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ. He didn't realize or didn't understand why would Hamza do something like that. He rushed to the Prophet ﷺ and he complained. When the Prophet ﷺ looked at him, he realized something serious happened. So he said to him, what happened? He said, Hamza killed my 2 she camels. The Prophet ﷺ asked, where was Hamza? They said he was in the house of one of Al-Ansar. They were drinking alcohol because at the time alcohol was halal. So he went there. Prophet ﷺ went to the house of Al-Ansar, knocked on the door. He was let in. There were some of the companions like Jabir ibn Abdullah and some of Al-Ansar. They were drunk. They were all drunk. The Prophet ﷺ came to Hamza and he said to him, why did you do that? Why did you kill the camels of Ali ibn Abi Talib? Hamza was drunk. He looked at the Prophet ﷺ from head to toe and he said, you are only the slaves of my father. Obviously he didn't know what he was saying because he was drunk. The Prophet ﷺ realized that there was no point speaking to someone who was drunk at the moment. So he just left. And alhamdulillah, things went well with the marriage of Fatima and Ali ibn Abi Talib, may Allah be pleased with them. But the Muslims realized that alcohol was causing so much damage within the Muslim community, within the Muslim society. And some of the interesting incidents where the Muslims became very impatient with alcohol due to some reasons, because some people from like Al-Ansar al-Muhajirun would be sitting together drinking alcohol, they would get drunk. And when they would be drunk, and most of the time they carried their swords with them or their knives. So somebody would take a knife being drunk and they would start playing with the knives together and they would cut each other's faces. And some incidents are authentically narrated that some companions actually cut the beards of the other companions because they were all drunk. And when a person is drunk, he's lost his intellect, his understanding, his mind. And he acts, basically humans without brain, they act like animals, irresponsibly. So what happened, companions would be together and they would cut each other's faces and each other's bodies. And when they woke up, they would look at themselves and say, who did that to me? And they would be informed that your friend did that to you. And they would start to ask themselves, why would they do that to me? So that would bring about hatred and enmity among the brothers, among the Muslims. And that started to grow. More incidents of that started to take place. This is why Umar ibn Khattab used to say, Allahumma bayyin lana fil khamri bayanan shafiya. Oh Allah, give us a clear indication about khamr. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Allah took the Muslims through stages. And this is a lesson that we have to learn as well. That alcohol was very common among the Arabs and later on among the Muslims. And it was a very integral part of their lives, of the social life. Many people were just dependent on alcohol. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, first of all, He gave a clear indication that khamr was not something good. First of all, in Surah Al-Nahl, Allah talks about what He has given the people like dates and grapes and different fruits from which تتخذون منه سكرا ورزقا حسنا. Allah said, you make out of them alcohol. You see, alcohol and vinegar, and they are a good provision for you. So that was some sort of a comparison. When they are provision, they are good. But when they are alcohol, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't say anything about that. Later on, Allah said, they ask you about al-khamr and al-maysir. Like in Surah Al-Baqarah, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْخَمْرِ وَالْمَيْسِرِ قُلْ فِيهِمَا إِثْمٌ كَبِيرٌ وَمَنَافِعٌ لِلنَّاسِ. They ask you about alcohol and or maybe before that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just said in Surah Al-Nisa, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تَقْرَبُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَأَنْتُمْ سُكَارَى. All you who believe, do not come to prayer when you are drunk, so that you get to know what you are doing, what you are saying in your prayer. Because, and I believe we mentioned that, Ali ibn Abi Talib himself, one day, he was praying with some of the companions in the houses of one of these companions. So they were drunk. And Ali ibn Abi Talib himself was drunk. That was, as I said, at the time, alcohol was still halal. So Ali ibn Abi Talib, they pushed him to be the imam. They said, you be the imam. He started leading the prayer. And after finishing Al-Fatiha, he started reading Surah Al-Kafirun. قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ لَا أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ. Instead of reciting it correctly, because he was drunk, he just said, يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ, all you who disbelieve, إِنَّا نَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ. We worship what you worship. That was the way he recited the surah. So obviously, when he did that mistake, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the verse in Surah Al-Nisa, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تَقْرَبُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَأَنْتُمْ سُكَارَى. All you who believe, do not come to the prayer when you are drunk. That was the second stage. The third stage was in Surah Al-Baqarah. They ask you about al-khamr, about alcohol and gambling. Say to them, قُلْ فِيهِمَا إِثْمٌ كَبِيرٌ وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ. Say to the people, there is so much harm in them. There is so much harm and damage in alcohol and in gambling. Imagine in gambling, someone brings the savings of his life, the savings for his family and his children, and he puts all of that on the line. For what? For chance, mere chance. And sometimes just for addiction, just for a false psychological need. And also with alcohol, how come someone loses their mind? Allah has given you a gift and you're doing away with it deliberately. So that was the verse in Surah Al-Baqarah. Say there is so much harm in them. وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ. Yes, there are some benefits still in them. There are some benefits. People sell and buy. It's trade. There is benefit in trade. People sometimes make money. There is benefit. But are these benefits, do they really, are they so much beneficial? Are they so great that they overcome or they overweigh the harms that are brought about by alcohol and gambling? Obviously that was an indication. This is what Umar ibn Khattab says, Allahumma bayyin lana fil khamri bayanan shafi'a. Allah, give us a clear injunction about khamr. How did it come to the stage where alcohol was prohibited? We will discuss that, we'll talk about it, and we will see some brilliant and wonderful example of Muslim character and Muslim obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger. This is something that is very difficult to see today, and this is something that really helps us and shows us how we can deal with crime and unwanted behaviors. How can we get that? Inshallah, we will elaborate on this in a few moments after we take this short break, so don't go away, stay tuned.
It is just Allah's way to make our spirits strong.
Allah mentions Arabic words in Quran 11 times. This might be a sign for us to know the importance of studying Quran and studying Arabic language, because it's the door to know more about Quran. Ubay ibn Ka'b, one of the most important Sahabas, advised the Sahaba, telling them, teach your children Arabic like you teach them to memorize Quran. See how important it was. And they are Arabs. Umar ibn al-Khattab, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with him, said, learn Arabic because it is part of your religion. Arabic is part of our religion. So how are we going to study Arabic and learn Arabic together in this course? This basic Arabic course contains 7 levels, starting with the 0 level, the ground level. Each level contains 13 sessions, 45 minutes each, and we have 2 quizzes in each course, and we have the final exam. So inshallah, by this, our objectives is to have a very good domain of the Arabic language, especially when it comes to reading Islamic books. So we're going to be introducing Islamic vocab throughout the course. So go ahead, please, and enroll in our basic Arabic course, as Arabic is the official language of more than 20 countries, and Arabic is the key and the door of all Islamic sciences. So please do enter this door from the correct way, Arabic language.
Huda Academy, your gateway to authentic Islamic knowledge.
It is just Allah's way to make our spirits strong.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to Inspirations. Hopefully, by studying the details of these events of the seerah and delving into sometimes the social aspects, maybe sometimes you notice we try to delve into the psychological aspects we were trying by that. Our goal, or my main goal behind this, is to just see how faith, how belief in Allah, belief in the last day, and belief in the decree of Allah, al-qada wal-qadar, how all of this impacts the human psychology, the human understanding, the human approach to life. So we can, by that, uncover the beauties and the secrets of a strong Muslim character that can really be constructive, that really knows what life is all about, and that really knows how to deal with different people, and it knows how to handle different situations, no matter what. So these are beautiful aspects of our character, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided us with the tools. The revelation is there, the Quran and the Sunnah, and we can really learn from them and benefit from them. We just need to take them seriously, study them in the light of the way of the Prophet ﷺ and his companions, and implement them. Sometimes we need to break from the attractions of this life, so we free ourselves from them, and we discover the strength that is there in the teachings of Islam. Now, we were talking about the gradual steps and the stages, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made alcohol haram. And the final stage, which was prohibiting alcohol and gambling for good, it took place during the year 4 of the Hijri calendar. This is beneficial, useful information. We said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first of all mentioned it neutrally. Then He started to say that all people, all Muslims, believers, do not come to the prayer while in a state of being drunk. Then after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala indicated that there is so much harm in alcohol and gambling, although there are some benefits, but the harms outweigh the benefits. The later stage was when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Ma'idah revealed the verse, يا أيها الذين آمنوا إنما الخمر والميسر والأنصاب والأزلام رجس من عمل الشيطان فاجتنبوه. Basically, alcohol, gambling, and casting the lots, these practices, pagan practices, رجس are filth. These are filth. They are the actions of shaitan, the actions of Satan. فاجتنبوه, that's a command. Now in Usul al-Fiqh, a verb in the imperative format, that is, do something or don't do something, that's imperative. When it comes without any qualifiers that could bring it, that could subdue or could lessen the strength of that command or that imperative format, then originally it is for obligation or prohibition. So when Allah says فَاجْتَنِبُوهُ, فَاجْتَنِبُوهُ means keep away from it. That's a command. That's a command. If it's a command, then it means you cannot break that command. You have to stick to it. Many people argue that Allah in the Quran doesn't say that alcohol is haram or gambling is haram. They say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't say that. So fajtanibuh is, to them, they say it's a bit mild. But this is lack of understanding of the Arabic language. Fajtanibuh means that's a command and there is no qualifiers or no mukhassas, no exceptions that can bring it down from the level of obligation to the level of recommendation or advice. So basically it's a command. And Allah doesn't say don't drink them or don't use them. Allah says keep away, stay away. And that means there are even borders around it. Don't even come close to it. It means the area in which there is alcohol, don't come to it. Where people drink alcohol, don't come to that area. Keep away from it. An area where there is gambling and all these pagan practices, don't even come near that. This is what it means. So actually this command or this prohibition is very powerful. But because of the lack of the deterioration of understanding Arabic language that we are suffering from, it has created that kind of understanding. But this is one of the strongest commands in the Quran. Fajtanibuh. That's it. Stay away from it. And what was the response of the companions? Imagine, these people were really brought up by the Prophet ﷺ. And if you notice, during the Meccan period and the early period in Medina after Hijrah, the Prophet ﷺ, or the emphasis was on creating belief in the hearts, where people could really grasp belief, where belief and life come together. There is anyone who, studies the state of the Muslims today, even sometimes practicing Muslims, some students of knowledge, you will find a phenomenon that could be called personal secularism. How is that? Because the Islamic sciences, Islamic knowledge is something theoretical that's in their brains, in their heads, that's fine. But with real life, it has no place, no application. Why? To me, this could be called personal secularism. Because we don't really live this life based on the values, based on the realities of faith. Just understanding that we are created for a purpose, and that is to worship Allah. That's belief in Allah. And understand our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that this whole world is just a result of the names and attributes of Allah. And that everything is connected to Allah. Once we understand this, it should have a profound impact on the way we identify ourselves. By the way, the secret to identity, you can read all these books on psychology that talks about identity, and you will not find an answer as you find in the Quran. Reading the Quran and taking the gist of the meanings of the Quran, you will find out that identity is about purpose. We identify things by the purpose or the mission they are expected and they are designed to fulfill. That's the secret of identity. And by understanding this, we can deal with the identity crisis that our younger generations are going through in the Muslim lands and in the West. This is the beauty of the Quran. Sometimes it's not stated openly, overtly like that, but you can find it through studying the Quran and bringing so many texts together. You can bring a collective understanding. We can see it clear that identity is basically has to do with purpose. It has to do with function. So if we want to build our identity, understand our identity, it's all about worship. It's all about our goal in this life. The goal you set for yourself in this life, the ultimate goal that you set for yourself just tells you exactly, it tells us all how you identify yourself and what your identity is all about. So if you want to create identity, you emphasize the concept of the ultimate goal. Now the Prophet ﷺ built that very well. The understanding of the time frame, of the time horizon, that there is the real life, which is the life of al-akhirah, and that this life is only, this worldly life is only a tiny portion. Understanding this frame of time horizon, by expanding your time horizon to live in the hereafter, make your heart live in the hereafter, live in the real world, in the real life. By doing that, you will be strengthening yourself to levels humans have no clue about today. So the Prophet ﷺ built the companions in such a wonderful way. This is why when the command of alcohol being prohibited, the response was fascinating. It was astounding. It was marvelous. What was the response? We will talk about this inshallah when you join us next week to talk about this wonderful, beautiful illustration of Islam in real life situations. So you're all invited to meet us inshallah. Until then, don't forget to make dua for us and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us and show us more how we can explain Islam to the Muslims and to the non-Muslims. Until we meet next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allah knows what's best for us, so why should we complain? We always want the sunshine, but He knows there must be rain. We always want the laughter and the merriment of cheer, but our hearts will lose their tenderness if we never shed a tear. So whenever we feel that everything's going wrong, it is just Allah's way to make our spirits strong and the merriment of cheer, but our hearts will lose their tenderness if we never shed a tear. So whenever we feel that everything's going wrong, it is just Allah's way to make our spirits strong.
I will free you for the sake of my mother. But he shaved his hair from the front. That was a sign of humiliation that you are, I have given you amnesty. I have given you your life back. That's the meaning of it. And he left Amr ibn Umayyah al-Damri leave. Some narrations indicate that Amr ibn al-Tufayl asked Amr ibn Umayyah al-Damri, he asked him about one of the casualties of the Muslims, who that person was. Amr ibn Umayyah told him that this is Amir ibn Fuhayra. Now, for those of you who remember the hijrah of the Prophet ﷺ, the migration, when the Prophet ﷺ had planned to migrate along with Abu Bakr, there was the shepherd of Abu Bakr who used to tend the sheep of Abu Bakr, take them to where the Prophet ﷺ and Abu Bakr were hiding, provide them with milk, and then come back. He would go during the night and then come back, so nobody would notice where they were. This Amr ibn Fuhayra. Amr ibn Fuhayra was one of those 70 companions, and he was killed. So Amr ibn Tufayl asks this Muslim, Amr ibn Umayyah al-Damri, who's that person? He said, this is Amr ibn Fuhayra. And when he asked him, why do you ask about him? What was special about him? He said, I saw that when he was killed, I saw him, he was lifted, something lifted him above the heavens, and I could see him above. Then he was slowly sent down and put in his servant and his messenger. Welcome to a new episode of Inspirations. Again, we will try to travel through time. Traveling through time is the key to understanding the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ, as we can get personally involved in it. We will try to read the events, we will try to narrate them as if we are witnessing them, seeing them with our own eyes, hearing the people speaking and interacting with our own ears, and even feeling the environment. So we can get ourselves immersed in a real human experience, so we can benefit from, inshallah. And hopefully the lessons that we can take can help us come back to this world, come back to this age, equipped with what we need to handle the situation and handle all the challenges that we face at this time. Last time we dealt with a very sad incident that hit the Muslims and led to the murder of 70 of the great companions, 70 of the most educated companions of the Prophet ﷺ. They were killed in a treacherous way by Amr ibn Tufayl and the other clans from Banu Sulaym that he called to help him. The Prophet ﷺ made a supplication against them. Amr ibn Tufayl died in a very humiliated way after everybody had turned away from him, because of the contagious disease that Allah sent upon him that caused him to die in a humiliated fashion as well. His uncle, the chief of the Banu Amir clan, died out of frustration, out of place. Now these narrations are not obviously, they do not reach the level of authenticity or acceptance, but as I said, they are mentioned in the books of Seerah. So some historians say it's all right to take them, but what I say is just, okay, we be cautious with that. These are narrations mentioned, they are not absolutely authentic. It could have happened, there's a great possibility that this happened, because there were so many karamat, so many miracles showing the dignity and honor of Muslims, especially those who were martyred. Now Amr ibn Umayyah al-Damri left with all the pain seeing the companions of the Prophet ﷺ being murdered. So he left, and on the way to Medina, on the way back to Medina, he rested under one, it seems that there was a station for people, travelers to rest. It was a shady area. So he was resting there. And then he found two people from a certain tribe, from the Arabs, who were connected to Banu Amir. So when these people fell asleep, two people, Amr ibn Umayyah al-Damri, thinking that that was a legitimate thing to do, because the Arabs would do that normally. He thought, these people are connected to Banu Amir, who just committed this crime. Why don't I just kill them in revenge? Actually, when they were sleeping, he killed them. When he killed them, then he found out that they had a letter. And that letter was,
Allah knows what's best for us, so why should we complain? We always want the sunshine, but He knows there must be rain. We always want the laughter and the merriment of cheer, but our hearts will lose their tenderness if we never shed a tear. So whenever we feel that everything's going wrong, it is just Allah's way to make our spirits strong.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Inspirations. All praise is due to Allah. We praise Him. We thank Him. We are grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for everything He's given us, for all the bounties, for all the mercy, and for all the guidance. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us benefit from the guidance that He sent to us. And we seek the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the evils of our actions and the evils of ourselves. And we send peace and blessings on our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And I bear witness that none has the right to be worshipped but Allah alone. And I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is of depression, because his dignity was destroyed, his reputation was badly affected. So basically what happened, straight after that crime took place, there were two companions following that army, following the 70 companions, the 70 Qurra. And when they were walking in the desert, they noticed that the birds were hovering around, were flying around. And that attracted their attention, because that's a sign of human bodies being left in the desert. So they went to find out what happened, and they found the bodies of their fellow Muslims, 70 Qurra, being killed. And the army, or the people of Amr ibn Tufail and the people who supported him, who aided him in that crime, they were still around. So there were two people, Amr ibn Umayyah al-Damri and Al-Mundhir, another companion. Al-Mundhir decided to go and engage in fights, and so he was killed by those people. Now we have 71. Amr ibn Umayyah al-Damri was taken as captive by Amr ibn Tufail. Amr ibn Tufail asked him who he was, where he came from. He gave him his full name. He realized that he was from Mudar, from the tribe of Mudar, and it seems that a person from the tribe of Mudar had a favor over the mother of Amr ibn Tufail. So he said, I will